Let's start hot out the gate with the 2025 Lexus LC500 convertible. This is a car that the first year of launch won Car of the Year and still hasn't disappointed since that initial inception. This one beside me is the ultrasonic blue with a beautiful white two-tone interior. And here's a car that is still using a front engine rear-wheel drive platform with a 5-liter V8 that the sound took the engineers 5 years to perfect, and let me tell you, it's definitely worth hearing. Also, it's a car that you can take on a long road trip across the country and still have things like heated and cooled seats, a comfortable ride, an amazing sound system, as well as suspension to be able to make those windy roads even more fun. And I can't wait to drive one coming this summer. Okay, moving over to some of the Lexus sedans. The one beside me is the ES300H. So this is Lexus's mid-size executive sedan that uses a hybrid front-wheel drive power plant. Now, of course, the ES does come in the ES350, as well as a little bit more niche ES250 all-wheel drive. This is a platform that when it got redesigned back in 2018, 2019, we actually saw a lot of people from our flagship Lexus LS go into the ES because it was so quiet and gave you so much bang for buck that a lot of people thought, I don't need to spend $100,000 to get $100,000 ride quality, and that's exactly what the ES does. Now, not only is it quiet and smooth, but also has tons of backseat space as well as interior front space with some really nice materials. Now let's go into a more sporty sedan. The IS350 all-wheel drive. The IS has always been a staple for the fun part of Lexus, especially in an F-Sport configuration like the one beside me. This one is a caviar black exterior paint, so it's black with a lot of different metallic when that sun hits it. We have blacked out wheels, that F-Sport grille, and of course some really aggressive body lines, especially on the hood and that front bumper that gives it, that little bit of personality. When it comes to driving the IS, I'm always so impressed with how it has great handling characteristics, but without sacrificing any ride quality. So you can still daily drive this car every single day, not get any fatigue, and be able to rip around a corner without feeling like you're gonna topple over. And this one being the 3.5-liter V6 all-wheel drive, but if that's not enough for you, you could always transition over to the IS500. So this is the big brother of that IS350, but in a front engine rear-wheel drive V8 platform. So we're around the 470 horsepower mark. The one beside me is in a really nice metallic yellow that, again, when that sun hits it, you can really see that shimmer. It also has a little bit more of a hood design that sort of makes up for that much bigger front engine of the V8. And again, another car that you could daily drive for sure and still have fun on your way to work every single day. Now, I do have a little surprise for you. So a lot of times Lexus will partner with certain craftsmen and Takumis in their own industries to create something special. So the IS beside me was actually designed by muralist Peru from Montreal, Canada, in collaboration with Lexus. And he did a really great job of incorporating the flower of life on the hood and making sure he complemented all of those angles of the IS in a true craftsman type way. Okay, now over to the RC300 and RC350, which rumors are true, this is going to be the last production year for this model. And here's a car that, again, an all-wheel drive on a rear-wheel drive platform, V6, sporty coupe that's similar to the IS, gives you a little bit of that comfort as well as sportiness in a pretty affordable package for what you're getting. So if you ever did want a luxury coupe from the Lexus lineup and didn't want to jump up to something like the LC500, this could be the last year for you to get one for the next couple years at least, until Lexus announces a replacement. Now, what better way to bridge into our SUVs than with the UX itself? So the UX is the Utility Explorer, or I like to just call it the compact SUV. And here's a car that is all-wheel drive, hybrid, and usually in a small package like this, it's really hard for car manufacturers to be able to engineer a smooth ride. Usually you need extra weight and a longer wheelbase for that, but somehow Lexus has done it. And I always tell the story of Steven, one of my salespeople, who has always driven the Lexus ES because he loves the ride comfort of that mid-size sedan. And he was on his way to deliver a UX to one of his treasured guests, and he called me from the car to say, put my name on one, I'm trading in my ES for a UX because of how smooth it is. And a little bit of that is a combination of that generation hybrid powertrain where it's a really smooth power delivery, the fact that even though it's more of a compact SUV, where the driver sits still has a ton of space, and there's no shortcuts on the craftsmanship that went into it. Even from the dashboard made from a material that gives a homage to the origami Takumi that Lexus has built some stories behind, as well as the seats themselves being one of the most comfortable in that class for sure. Now over to our nimblest of SUVs, the NX 350h, and this is a model and a class of car that, especially in Canada and the US, has really grown over the last couple of years. In fact, when the NX first launched, it was actually more on a platform similar to the IS for a little bit more of that driving experience, and that's why we say nimble. Here's an SUV that, even though it is super practical, with rear seat space, with a nice ride height, with all-wheel drive, it's still pretty fun to drive and it feels light. And now with the new powertrain that's in it, especially the hybrid powertrain, I'm finding it's a powertrain more built for almost a bigger SUV like the RX or the TX in a small package, and that creates a really fun driving experience that's also super practical. And this one beside me is the Nori Green, which I know if you look at on the website or any cartoon pictures of it, it doesn't do it justice from being here in person. The way that the light reflects, it gives it a really rich forest green type color and is really well suited with a brown interior. Over to the fan favorite, the Lexus RX. Here is a mid-size luxury SUV that since it came out in the late 90s, it has always been a bestseller in the luxury mid-size SUV class. And what better representation than the RX 500h, which is something us Lexus enthusiasts asked for many years. Here is a high-performance model of a very practical, smooth SUV. And it uses a 2.4 liter turbo engine combined with a high-performance hybrid system, as well as direct for all-wheel drive, where everything like the tires, the big brakes that are on it, the really nice F-Sport performance badges scream best of both worlds, where it's a vehicle you can, have a family and dogs in, but also have that power and fuel economy to be able to have fun with. And I think that's a big theme for the car industry going into 2025, is being able to have both fuel economy and efficiency as well as high performance. And we see that across many different brands in many different lineups. And this one has the Incognito, which was a little bit of a surprise when it first came out into the Lexus lineup. It's more of a flat gloss gray. And to me, it accents all the piano black very, very well. It shows those body lines off very well and just looks super great, especially with those blacked out wheels. And a detail you might miss if you were to just walk by it is that massive orange brake caliper on the special edition ones. And I love the fact that the gray and orange go together in a way that I never would have expected, but it just ties it all together. And now for Lexus's biggest SUV, the Lexus TX. And no, the T doesn't stand for T-Rex, it actually stands for a thoughtful, because everything in the TX was supposed to made to be thoughtful. Even the Lexus emblem, I think it's called Lexus Emblem 2.0, where it's thinner and skinnier than normal Lexus emblems just to reduce that extra wind noise and drag. In fact, every position that you could sit in the TX is supposed to be a first class seat like from an airplane. And the reason for that, combined with things like active noise canceling, is to be able to eliminate things like car sickness. I'm 6'1". Even in that third row, I feel super comfortable. I have lots of space. And better yet, it's the first Lexus SUV that you could still fit 6 pieces of luggage behind that third row, so that anybody that's on that road trip to the airport, you can actually have it without having to have your kids have like luggage sitting on their legs in the back seat. Also, the fact that the styling is different than a lot of the other things in the lineup. You can easily tell that it's a TX and not something like an RX and NX by that front end. We have a huge daytime running light, a really flat and squared off front end, as well as some really attractive body lines. And yes, you might recognize there is a Toyota cousin to this car that checks a lot of those same boxes. Okay, so now over to some really cool SUVs from Lexus. So this is the GX 550 in the Overtrail package with the earth color, which is new to the Lexus lineup as well. And this is an SUV that is great at off-road as well as super luxurious. And I actually had the chance to drive this on an off-road track back at the beginning of last year. And it was really interesting to see how you could just put it in crawl mode, have the articulation of the suspension, and just let the vehicle do all the work for that off-roading. And because of it being branded the way it is, there's also a lot of lifestyle accessories that you can get from different manufacturers for it. One of them being this Yakima shower, which is really interesting because it mounts up at the top and you fill it with water, and essentially it's designed to heat up in the sun so that when you're doing an actual overlanding expedition, you can shower off with relatively warm water from that accessory. And there's tons of Yakima designed accessories for something like the GX. Also, it's one of the last SUVs in the Lexus lineup that you have the glass that can raise up. I always say I love this because I'm a Golden Doodle owner, and it'd be great to have my dog be able to stick his head up while I'm at the beach and have that shower to like wash off the sand, to wash him off, etc. So the GX is very much one of those overlanding lifestyle type SUVs that you could drive to work every day and be comfortable, but then on the weekends be a part-time bro and go full off-roading and stuff like that. And last but not least, the LX700H, which is the newest model to the Lexus lineup for 2025. And here is a hybrid powertrain SUV that checks all the boxes for not compromising on luxury or off-road capability. In fact, some may argue that this is even more capable than the GX Overtrail. And for a few good reasons. One of them is now we have actual ride control where you can raise and lower the height of the vehicle and the ground clearance, as well as those really off-road aggressive Overtrail tires. On the inside, I mean, it's still an LX or an L series car, meaning high-end materials, lots of buttons and features, and still a lot of space to be able to use something like this. So the LX is the no compromise SUV. Fuel economy is great. Space inside is great. The ruggedness is great. And of course, that ride quality is next level.